Happy Sunday, folks. It's Sunday. It's a couple of hours before kickoff, and here we are with my boy Bo and Sam. We're here to break down the NFC West. Afternoon, morning, evening, boys. How are we all doing?
Good.
Good to speak to you guys. Good to speak to you guys. I'm enjoying this week, Bo. I'm on a bye week. We desperately needed a bye week after the last 3 weeks. Oh, I mean, just from a Niners perspective, the wheels, I wouldn't say have come off, but we've certainly hit a rough patch, And I think I saw a stat the other day that Brock has now finally played a full season. He's had 17 games. He's finally hit 17 sort of regular season games. So I suppose a lot of taking stock of, the wheels have fallen off, everything's gone horribly wrong. It's like it's just finished his first season. If you look back on as a season sort of worth of stats and a season's worth of performances, hey, you'd take that from a last pick rookie, wouldn't you? So overarchingly, yes, it's bad. 3 weeks have been, it's just come at the wrong time or the right time because, led into the bye week, we can get right. Our defense has been a little bit off the boil. There's lots and lots on socials, lots and lots in the fan groups about the problems with the defense or where the problems with the defense lie. Generally, most of the blame is being laid at the should we say the laptop screen sitting up in the booth rather than the players on the field. So there's a lot of talk about that. And then obviously they made another big splashy trade deadline move, which gazumped a little bit. I thought the really good move that you guys pulled off, Bo, to get your defensive line guy in. I thought that was a great trade for you guys. You've talked about the weakness in the middle that you guys have got. You went out and got a really good, was it Williams you got, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. And I thought,
and Frank Clark comes back this week too. So I mean, all of a sudden the front of that defense looks very different.
Yeah, 2 new signs, and I thought, well, that's all we would be talking about. And then obviously the Niners decide to go and gazump, the big trade, which I was a bit surprised about. Yes, edge rusher, class edge rusher like Chase Young is always going to make any team better, and our defensive line was already pretty good. Mm-hmm. Wasn't getting the sort of results, I suppose, flashy stats that should be getting. A lot of Bosa's, everyone's saying, well, Bosa's not really lighting up the stats as of yet or whatever else. But, they were getting pressures and stuff like that. But I think it showed against the Bengals when, that sack where Joe Burrow managed to avoid, I think, our whole defensive line and still made a completion was just like, okay, something's got to happen. But I did not expect an extra edge. I was expecting some DB cornerback lockdown corners sort of move, and that never happened. But then suddenly this Chase Young came out of the blue, and it was like, wow, that's a statement.
No, like it was a great move for you, because you pair him with Bosa, and obviously that's scary, right? And the front office was phenomenal in that deal because they're using a free 3rd rounder, right? That they got for having a coach move on.
The coach that we sent, not the coach, I think the GM or one of the back office guys that we sent to the Commanders.
Exactly. Yeah. So so you get this compensatory pick, you go and get him, right? And then even if he walks, because of the high level of talent, you get a 3rd rounder back. So whether he stays and you sign him, awesome talent. We'll see if he can stay healthy, but on paper, awesome talent. And then if he walks, you get your 3rd rounder back. So basically,
what its effect was, I think, is it $561,000 rental fee?
Yeah, basically.
So half season rental at $561,000 for a premium edge rusher. No win, no harm, no foul sort of thing. If he walks, if he blows up and has a great second half of the season, we probably won't sign him because we may win a ring, but we won't be able to afford him. But then he'll go and get his bag somewhere else. Great for him, as you say. We'll get a high back. We'll get the pick back.
Exactly.
It was like when that followed out, that news about what the front office and what the actual deal was. It was just like, how did they pull that off? Yeah. When you consider Montez Sweat went to Chicago for a 2nd rounder, and
and Williams went for a 2nd rounder too.
Yeah, so a front office coup. Maybe it's great having this sort of compensatory pick mentality where you can kind of go and knock on the doors of some of your, guys that you've sent out into the wild and say, hey, we were good to you. Can you help us out? I can't imagine anything like that happened. I wouldn't want to say that, but maybe they looked more favorably on the Niners offer than they would have done on maybe somebody else.
Well, and they would have wanted these guys out of the AFC anyway. So
yeah,
I think you've also got to look at, like, I think, sometimes probably the things that we don't get to see, the conversations that we don't get to see, there is the high possibility that, like they said, well, we need to get rid of Chase Young because we're going to have to either pay him or, he's going to go for free. Let's send him to a team that, for his perspective, helps him potentially win something going forward. And like it's one of those where I think as well, if you can build good relationships with other teams, you start to see similar trades happen between those teams. I think obviously, like I say, sending over the coach or GM or whatever it was over to them will have possibly played a part in that.
But so I mean, it's one of those trades that you don't think anybody loses either, do you? I mean, it's not like the Niners get a great player for half a season with the potential of, as you say, Bo, if he has a great season and we sign him or blah, 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 great. Compensatory pick back, great. But also from the Commander side, they don't then have potentially, I know there was rumblings about his attitude and, coming out of there, but then they said the same about Trent Williams. Is it because it was Washington and is it because it's Chase Young and Trent Williams, good players not getting support, whatever else? And, a third round pick for the Commanders, they're cleaning house and restocking. So that's a win for them as well. And as you say, gets 2 big paydays off their books as well. So it's one of those trades where you go, it's a great trade for us, but it's also a good trade all round. It doesn't seem unfairly biased one way or the other.
Yeah.
No, I mean, because Washington's blowing that thing up, right? Rivera gets fired. I think he's the next coach that gets canned. And at this point, they're gonna start moving guys out because they're gonna want to bring in the guys that the new coach and GM and everybody is gonna want. So it is interesting because it sounded like there was another team that had a better trade offer than the Niners, but it would have stayed potentially in the division.
Oh,
so
yeah, they're not going to do that, then, aren't they? They're not
exactly.
going to take a divisional. It's like, hey, we're not making
like,
you guys better.
We don't need
them out. Yeah, we don't need them out. We don't need them out to come back twice a year to haunt us. Yes, we play them fairly regularly, but not as regularly as their divisional rivals.
Yeah, I think as well, it's like, it like I say, it works for everyone. It's the perfect trade, really. I mean, from my perspective, I hate it, but that's more just because he's gone to the Niners. But it is. I think when you look at that O line now, I mean, you've got like that D line. It's Chase Young, Hargrave, and Bosa. I mean, that's just
Bosa with Gregory to come in and Clellan Ferrell. I think, can't remember. I think that's his name. But rotationally wise, it's also the second rotation is much improved as well, and that's what's kind of, I think, been holding us up, because now we can sort of say, okay, Eric, Nick, have a breather.
Yep.
We've got equally good guys to rotate in, whereas there's this, it's any sport.
Like you say, that's one of the big things. I mean, you look at when we had like the likes of Leonard Floyd and all of those, like we were able to take Aaron Donald out of the game for the odd snap because we knew that we had other players around him that could do a job.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't work now. We have to play Aaron Donald every single snap.
Because
there's literally nothing around him. But it's having those options where they know that they can now go, right, well, we don't need to play Bosa in this one because we've got Chase Young, or we can take Hargrave out because we can, we've got Young and Bosa. So there's that flexibility also plays into it, which, benefits. It keeps players fresh. And I think that's probably a really good point of the trade, is that it does keep players
freshens things up.
So you know what else keeps players fresh though is the move I thought you were supposed to make was an offensive lineman. Because with Debo out, Brock hasn't had a lot of time. He doesn't have that outlet guy that he's used to having, right?
And I think what's been more apparent is the left tackle being out.
And Williams,
yeah, right. So I was thinking you were going to go get The same guy I thought the Hawks should take a look at is Fluker, right? He's a free agent, not on a team. Like, you could still go get him. And I thought something like that would have made sense. And instead you go get more defense. I'm like, I don't care how good your defense is. If you're on the field for 40 minutes, your stats aren't going to look good.
They're not going to look. Yeah, it doesn't matter how good they are. They're going to blow. They're going to start blowing towards the end of it, right? Yeah,
absolutely.
I was surprised about that. As I say, I was surprised that they didn't go for a defensive back. But I know we've got a couple of guys coming back from IR, and a few guys coming off of IR, like Womack and Luther are coming back, so that strengthens that bit up. We have, I think, this bye week, as I say, has come at a great time because it gives potentially all these rumbles between Shanahan and Wilkes, and he's playing the wrong system. He's playing back to front rather than front to back, and our defense is front to back defense. It's front line, linebackers, and then DBs, whereas Wilkes is a back DB forward type thing, and he's been blitzing a lot with our DBs and stuff like that. And that's not how we've under D'Amico and under Salah before. That's not the defense that we've had. So there's a bit of back and forth there, and it's a perfect time. It gives Chase a week and a half or whenever it is he's in the building for, to get up to speed with the coach. That defensive line coach is one of those coaches that I think that any other team would snap up in a heartbeat, because he's turned so many journeyman defensive linemen into big pay packets for themselves, but also the compensatory picks, obviously, that we've managed to pick up through that. So it's a great win for us. But as Alex says there, we've got a big test coming out of the bye week for us. We've got 4 weeks of Birds coming visiting, or we're visiting, and it's going to be a make or break at the end of those 3 games, shall we say? Sorry, Jay, I know. If you're out there, the fourth game of that one maybe not as important, but the first 3 are certainly ones that are definitely going to be a massive impact on our season.
Yeah.
But anyway, Bo, now we've used up all of the time that for the Niners. How are you feeling? Sitting pretty on the top of the NFC West?
Yeah, I mean, so we'll see, right? We've played well. Right. Especially when you look at the defense, like, it has really come along. It's really come along, and I like what I'm seeing. The problem is those numbers might be lying to you a little bit. And why I say that is, they're, I think, 5th in the league in sacks. Well, 11 of them came against the Giants, right? Like, that was like beating up a little kid and stealing his candy. Like, it's not. There's not
we didn't get that many the week before, though. So
yeah, I mean, you didn't. Not to say it wasn't good. I'm just saying, like, it felt like some of that might have been empty calories, right? So
the garbage time sort of padding.
I mean, it was all game, so it can't even be garbage. It's like the whole game was garbage time. So it was just a defensive clinic against a bad team. But when you look at their run stopping ability over the last 4 weeks, on paper looks awesome. But what running backs did you see? None of those teams run particularly well. So now all of a sudden we're going to go into a game where in most defensive categories over the last 4 weeks, we're number 1. The Ravens are number 2. I really like this battle. What I don't like is, so what I don't like about this game going in is, despite all of the other stats that look really good, they're giving up 5.1 yards per attempt to a quarterback. What athletic quarterback have we played yet? We played a Joe Burrow with a bad calf, and then we played guys like Daniel Jones, who spent the whole game on his back. And I mean, we haven't played a truly athletic, dynamic quarterback that's able to run. Yeah. And now we're going to come into this game against probably the best one in the league, right?
He's and certainly playing like that again, isn't he?
5.1 is 31st in the league, right? So if we're giving up 5.1 to bad quarterbacks, not necessarily bad, but like, they don't have the athleticism to run around. And then we come into one where that's the hallmark of what he does, right? Like, he breaks Michael Vick's records. And so, I mean, it's like, oh man, I am legitimately worried about that. The saving grace to it is we get Williams and Clark for this game. They may be able to help contain,
just beef up that sort of center and beef up that line. Yeah.
well, especially around the edge, right? Because you got Clark who can move, right? Like he's later in his career, but he can still move around. And then you got Williams who can absolutely get some pass rush up the middle. So there's elements that I think we can contain him, you know, because you'll probably have Jamal Adams running a spy, right? Like he's probably just going to mirror whatever Lamar is doing. You have Witherspoon that can come in and blitz off the edge, coming up from the corner spot. So, I mean, like there's schemes that they'll be able to do that I think they'll have success at. But 5.1 yards a carry is brutal.
Yeah, I know. Say those schemes might be successful on occasions, but you can't be turning up a cornerback blitz every single carry because they'll work around that, and you've got to be successful every time with those things. And he only needs a couple of times, and as you say, being so athletic, just get out there, get something extended, could be real trouble.
Yeah, no, I think that's where Jamal Adams will have a huge role in this game, is containing Lamar. Because if you can at least force him back inside, you have help, right?
Yeah.
You have Bobby Wagner. You have guys in the middle to help kind of shut some of that down. But if you let him bounce outside, man, it could be a long day.
Look out, it could be painful, couldn't it? Could be painful.
I mean, it's why they have a 6-point spread, right? Like they're a 6-point favorite at home. And so, I mean, Vegas really doesn't think Seattle has a shot in this. I have Seattle with the upset, but it's going to be a dogfight. Like it's
is that just your sort of
no
kind of tinted glasses on? I was going to say blue tinted or green tinted. I couldn't quite work out what color that might be. Like,
just one of each,
one of each.
No,
light green. Are you wearing? It depends if you're wearing a retro. I love your retro outfits, by the way.
No, so. I mean, it probably plays a little bit of a factor, but the biggest thing is I look at it as if they can keep him inside the pocket and make him beat you with his arm, we have one of the best secondaries in the league, right? And as good as his passing game has evolved over the years, because I mean, far and away a better thrower than he was when he entered the league, right?
Yeah.
But if you can keep him in the pocket and make him beat you with his arm, the Seahawks can win this game because, again, you have nothing but Pro Bowlers and All Pros in the secondary, right? Yeah. And then you have Witherspoon, who is putting up better numbers than Gardner had last year as last year's Defensive Rookie of the Year, right? You have Woolen, who's coming off a Pro Bowl year. You have Diggs coming off his third Pro Bowl year. You have Love, who is another standout corner. You have Jamal Adams back. So he's able to be the dynamic player that he is, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you have so many pieces on the backside that if he has to stand back there and you can move him off his spot to throw, I like their odds. If Lamar is able to run around and do Lamar things, man, it might be, mimosas or something.
Something, yeah. As Alex says, you think Clark's going to be there, deep, and you guys, he's obviously keying you in for the playoffs. So I think, Fred Clark will be important there. But also absolutely. What Lamar turns up, he can be a bit hot and cold. He can be a bit, prime timey. So who knows?
I think what could also play a massive part, and this is one of the things. I mean, you look at the. I know obviously we're looking at the Seahawks defense, but look at the flip side. Look at the Ravens defense. It's arguably been the best defense this year, and for me, I think this game will be determined by which Geno turns up, not necessarily which Lamar turns up. I think if Geno can turn up when we've seen him at his best, and can start to move the game around, we could see a good game that could potentially result in a Seahawks win. I think if the Geno we see sometimes turning up, which is completely the opposite, I think it could be a very, very long game. And I think that, it'll all depend on who has their offense on the field the longest, I think, in this game. It's not going to be down to I think both defenses are solid. And I think it is going to be solely down to which offense can stay on the field the longest for me.
You can get the drives and keep that defense on there. Yeah. And as you say,
it's going to be low scoring.
Yeah. I don't see this being a blow. Yeah. This is going to be one of those one-score games. Last, team with the ball at the end potentially wins it type thing.
Yeah, I just hope it's us that has the last one, because last thing I need is Tucker being able to nail a 65-yard field goal because he can kick it from the moon.
He could be out in the parking lot and still get it over from
pretty
there.
much. So as long as they're not touching the ball last, I feel a little bit better about it. But yeah, I mean, the defenses are both really good defenses. It's just going to be who wins the turnover battle, and if you can keep Lamar contained. And then Geno, he has to be smart with the ball. I mean,
Geno has to go out and be Geno, right? Not try and be Geno/Lamar. He doesn't need to be competing against Lamar, because that's not, as you say, Geno's skill set. But it is Lamar.
Just be who you are, right? Yeah. Make good decisions. Use your outlet guys. They're going to scheme some things offensively that the Ravens haven't had to encounter, simply because we've had those offensive line issues. So we've been running a lot of like 2 and 3 tight end set. Yeah. We ran out one with, I think it was last week. We had 2 tight ends lined up directly next to Geno and both running backs in. So
what formation is that? A 4 formation? 1 4? You hear a 21 or it's like a 44?
That would have been like a 23, I think. 2 backs, 3 tight ends, and 1 receiver, I think is how it went down. Clearly a running play. But
clearly not going to play. They're not airing that one out, are you? Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was it's interesting because they've actually run a lot of 13 personnel, which is 1 back, 3 tight ends. And, a lot of that is because they haven't had the protection inside, which is why I was thinking they should have taken a look at DJ Fluker, right? Because he's a tackle. He's a free agent. He's not on a team, so the trade deadline doesn't matter. Even if you just use him as a depth piece, I don't know why you wouldn't go get him. But yeah, there's some things that the Hawks are going to show them that they haven't had to go up against from anyone else. I don't know. This one's going to be fun because it could go either way. Like, this is a coin flip of a game. It's going to be stressful the whole time.
It's going to be stressful for you and great for the neutral to watch. It's one of those games, right? It's going to be, if you love defense and if you love good teams going head to head, this is a game for you. If you're looking for an offensive sort of blowout, this is not it. This is not a shootout game. This is an arm wrestle, and that's why it's one of those old school throwback games, and I can't wait to watch it.
Absolutely. It's funny. This is probably one of the first Sundays we've had where we've had a good game in every time slot. So we have our morning game here that isn't as good as I thought it was going to be. The Dolphins, I guess,
didn't travel very well.
I think it's basically the Dolphins haven't turned up. But
yeah, not at all.
Dolphins have taken advantage of maybe some German hospitality by the sounds of it.
I mean, I'm not mad at it, but but then the early time slot we have the Hawks Ravens, right? And then you get into the afternoon and you have the Eagles and the Cowboys. That's going to be a fun game to watch. And then you close it out with it's the Bills and the Bengals, right? Is that the night game?
Yeah, that's the late game, isn't it? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I mean, like, that is, it's so rare to have 4 great lineups all in the same day. So it's like, oh, nice. Like, this is going to be some good football all day.
All day for you guys. Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously for us, it bleeds into Monday. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those slates where you go, oh, you don't mind all of, as you say, each one of those is a must watch. Definitely. Sam, how are you feeling about who's your QB today?
It's
Ripon, is it? Ripon?
I think it's going to be Brett Ripon. Yeah, I think that's looking like it's going to be. And then we've picked up some rookie undrafted quarterback as a backup now. He's just a body. He's basically not going to even be involved. So I mean, we were talking about obviously.
Well, you hope not, right?
Well, exactly.
I mean, because if Ripon goes down, Stafford can't take a snap, right? It's his thumbs.
Well, no, he's got a Lego hand right now.
Yeah, he's got that, right? Claw hand.
He is yet to be ruled out of the game, but it's likely. I mean, they've pretty much said he's got a UCL, so it's likely he's not going to be playing. I'd be shocked if somehow he comes out and plays, but
and if he does, it's going to be run play, right? It'll be like the NFC Championship game. Oh, Brock's come back in. Oh, he can barely hold it. He's just handing it off to the running back. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we were obviously saying between the Ravens and the Seahawks is going to be a great game to watch. It's one for obviously not for offensive blowouts, but for defensive plays. It's going to be the exact opposite for our game. It's going to be who can be the best at a best of two very bad teams. I think really. It's just, yeah, it's not going to be a good showing, I don't think. So I'm glad we're not on TV.
You're not on TV. You're not on the primetime game over here. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're quite happy seeing the schedule come out going, please show the other games. Please show the other games. Yeah.
I'd probably been a bit more happy if Stafford had been playing, but not when we've got Rippon. I mean, I think you're probably going to see. I mean, I know that the Packers D isn't particularly good against the run, so we'll probably end up using Henderson and Freeman quite regularly, and maybe using some of the, you know, the jet sweeps that we've used with Cup before, and I think Puka's done a couple, so we'll probably end up doing a lot of that.
He's out though, isn't he?
Puka was questionable,
he was questionable. He did not practice, but again, it's probably going to be a game time decision.
Atlanta, make sure you make that decision.
Yeah.
Or at least tell the NFL and the betting guys that you've made that decision.
Yeah, right.
But then obviously if we don't, then it'll be Tutu Atwell as the deep threat. But to be honest, I know obviously Rippon played a few games for the Broncos last year. I don't remember watching too much of him. I don't think he necessarily has a good arm, so I don't think that Tutu's going to be a threat.
Threat's going to be too much of not going to be stretching too much.
I think probably Higbee's probably going to be the next step up, because I mean he's he's going to be used probably quite heavily, I reckon. But yeah, again, I don't see it being a high scoring game. Probably sort of you're looking at 3 points in it, both teams under 20 points probably. Which, if we can get a win, if we can walk out of Lambeau Field with a win, I'll be happy.
Absolutely. Anytime you can do that, but yeah, especially
if Stafford was playing, I would have had you guys win that game. But with him out, this feels like an L.
It'll honestly, and again, it goes back to that whole element of, like we said with Gino, obviously on a lesser scale, but it depends what Love turns up. If Jordan Love can have a relatively good game, then he can start finding some of his targets, and they could easily get 3 TDs and walk away with the game. So it honestly will depend. I think I can see the likes of Witherspoon and Yeast and that probably being a big part of the game, but it just, nothing looks good.
I can see this being a 10-6 game.
Yeah, it just doesn't look good as a game. I think it's it's going to be one of those really, but yeah, I think after the last week's mauling, I think I'll take a 10-6 win.
Sneak out of there. Yeah, as you say, the wheels have come off the Packers recently, and Love doesn't look like it's it. Even though he's sat behind and watched and learned and whatever else. I mean, I know the Packers fans are all worried that he's had a few years. Every time he's popped up, he's not looked good, and I think that's starting to come through now, isn't it? So it definitely seems like the Packers will be in the mix for a QB next year. That'll be interesting to see where that all goes out. Got a quick, interesting question there from Alec, just under, a bit out there. I don't think there was any ever news or anything like that. If somebody had come calling for Aaron Donald, would you have been surprised, or if depending on the offer, I guess, right?
Yeah, I think out of all of the stuff that we've heard about, obviously Aaron Donald potentially retiring last year, he's still got, I think, at least another 2 years left on his contract. I honestly wouldn't. I would have probably been a bit shocked had we traded him, because I don't think we had no intention of going back out and trading this time round. We had no intention of doing it. So I think to release someone like Aaron Donald, yes, it would have freed up space next year in terms of the cap, but I just think you can't. It's bad enough that we have so many rookies on that defense to take off such an elite leader would have been really stupid, even if your defense is not good.
This is the last year of Stafford, though, right?
Technically, no. He has another year of his contract.
Does he have another? Okay.
But I there's some part of me thinks that Stafford will probably retire at the end of this season, and I think that Donald will go as well. And I think that's why I don't think the trade would have ever happened. I think this would have been the final year to start getting those pieces lined up, and then using the picks that we're going to have to basically rebuild that team from scratch. So yeah, I think that's to answer the question. Yes, I would have been surprised, but I could understand maybe if Donald wanted to go, obviously it wasn't the pressure for him wanting to go, then I think they would have found a trade for him to go somewhere else. But
someone would have given something. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So by the sounds of it, want to go.
Yeah, I suppose that's it. Is if he'd have come knocking on a door, going, "Look, guys, I've got 18 months. I want to. This is not. We're not going to be in anywhere near challenging the Bengals have come knocking, or somebody like that." And I think it's similar to the Commanders. They would have looked outside of the division and outside of the if we'd have come knocking on the door going, "Hey, Aaron, do you fancy coming up the road?"
Yeah, we would have told you to
slap. Yeah, absolutely. They'd have told us where to go. But
Yeah.
potentially, if the Bengals or somebody like that who's in contention in the AFC would have come knocking, that would have been an interesting conversation to have. It would have depended on what they offered and X, Y, Z. And much like you mentioned there, the Chase Young at the beginning, it seemed like from Washington's point of view, they've done Chase Young good out of the trade as well. They've not sent him off to Carolina, for example. He's gone somewhere where he's got a chance in his final year before he, either gets discarded or goes to free agency to do something with a team that's competitive. So yeah, it would have had to have been that sort of trade, I think, before anything could have happened with Donald.
I think from the talks as well. Sorry, I think just from the talks, from what I've heard, around Aaron Donald and that, I think the only team that I think he was, from what I can gather, that he was ever really would have been interested in joining would have been going to the Steelers. And I don't think the Steelers are it. I don't see the point in that trade. So
what about if the Chargers that have come knocking?
I mean,
that would have been a solid trade for him.
That would have been a solid trade. He wouldn't have to move. He knows the stadium. Barely has to change uniform. Yeah,
I think that may have been an option, but I do honestly think he's ready to, I think not because obviously he's got his ring. I think he's ready to retire. I think he probably would have retired last year had we not basically begged him to stay.
That bad. Yeah. Please come back. We need you. Yeah.
So I think I would be shocked if he lasts beyond the end of this season. Not because he's not good enough or doesn't have the ability or is losing his ability. I think it's just personal choice.
Does he want it? Is it? Yeah. As you say, his body can probably still do it, but does his mind? Does he want to go through the grind and everything? And he's got his ring. He's a Hall of Fame first ballot.
He's got 2 kids as well. They're very young. I mean, he's ready to. I think he's ready to move on.
And and the media box will be calling with a hefty contract, no doubt. So why would you put your body through that when he's got other options? I should imagine, but it depends. As you say, it depends if somebody comes calling at the end of the season who's not in a rebuild mode. Who knows?
What do you have draft capital wise, and who do you think they go
after?
You have
to get to draft in the first round next year, don't we?
Yeah, we have every single round. We have about 12 to 14, potentially even more picks. We have a lot of picks next year.
Yeah, I thought you had a bunch of them. So it's like, so what quarterback are you targeting? Because you have to imagine now that Stafford, he gets his ring, he's been injured each of the last 2 years. You would think he's hanging it up.
Yeah. I think if we are, I don't think we're going to target a quarterback in the draft. I think we're going to look at an edge rusher, personally. I think
even with all those picks, because there's so many quarterbacks coming out.
Yeah, there's a lot of quarterbacks.
Second round.
We may look at maybe a second round quarterback, but I certainly don't think we'll use the first pick to go for someone like Caleb, or arguably maybe Drake may go in the first round. Those sort of Penix may go in the first round. He could be one that slips to the second round.
If he goes, Bo Nix will
drop.
Yeah.
Bo Nix
will be in the second.
I think it'll honestly. I mean, see, we've got. I know he doesn't really get talked about. I know he's still got loads of issues, and he's definitely not coming back this year. I know we did bring.
You just saw that, Bo, right? You just saw that.
Put that up.
I have to put that up.
Yeah, I'd rather not.
Right,
Because Alec hates the Rams.
Obviously, Alex is definitely a Niner fan, as you can tell.
The amount of abuse I've given Jimmy G over the years, I don't think I could ever want him.
You'd have to just disappear into those.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I might become a Chargers fan if he joined.
Right.
Any other fan, any other team, yeah.
But no, I think it'll be interesting to see what happens with Stetson Bennett. Whether we, obviously, I mean, he's probably not a long term. He's probably a good second QB that we'll probably
Is he
have.
back?
He's not going to be back to the end. He's on our roster. He's still an LA Ram, but he's not going to be coming back this season. I think, obviously, with all the personal issues that are being dealt with outside of the game, I think that's what's the focus. And I think
I wasn't sure if they just straight cut him or not.
No, he's still
a Ram. He's still on the roster.
He's still a Ram, but he's not on
fit to participate.
He's not on the roster yet.
Yeah, it was tagged as a outside of football illness, but I mean, or injury, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're watching and you don't know what it is, he had a drinking problem. That's why he ended up out of the league.
Yeah. That's essentially what it is. I think he's essentially gone into rehab
from college, right? Didn't he? He's been sent off to get himself sorted.
Yeah.
Correct.
He's definitely had I think that everyone can see that he's had a drinking problem, and it's now being dealt with, I think, which is probably the best way to put it. And at the end of the day, it is bigger than football that he clearly has an issue. So I'm glad he's getting sorted. And if he comes back and he ends up being a decent quarterback, then potentially he could be the option. But I think it'll depend on what we do. I think we'll either go veteran quarterback or second round pick quarterback. I think that they're the two options. I don't see as.
So you are targeting Jimmy G.
You're definitely
not
Kirk Cousins
that
is a free agent next year, right?
Not that sort of veteran.
Kirk Cousins is a free agent.
Yeah,
he is.
So
that would be maybe a plug and play fit. Stafford, Cousins, not massive change to the scheme or anything.
Well, I mean, that was the appeal of Stetson Bennett.
Yeah,
right. That was the appeal. Is he plays exactly like Stafford does.
Yeah. So I think it's a weird one because I mean you never know. Stafford could decide to stay for a final year while we sort everything out, and then we target a quarterback the next year. So it's just hard to, and I don't think we'll know what's going to happen at the quarterback until Matt Stafford makes his decision on what he's going to do. Once he makes his decision, that'll be whether we pull the trigger on a quarterback or whether we go and look out for another veteran.
I'm just thinking college-wise. Next year's,
There's Klubnik, I think, is probably one of the only ones that I can think of.
I would think that it probably comes more down to what comes out of Bennett's situation, because whether Stafford stays or not, next year would be it, right? So, I mean, you got to be thinking about a quarterback anyway. So even if Stafford were to stay, you got to be looking at somebody that can maybe jump in behind him, because this draft is deep at quarterback.
Yeah.
This is one.
I think if you're going to pick up a quarterback that's going to be a potential starter, this 2024 draft is the one. And I think, and this is why I think if someone like, if I was going and being in charge of the draft picks, which is probably a good thing that I'm not.
It's just a good thing that all fans aren't.
Yeah. I would be hoping that someone like Penix would drop to the second round, someone like Bo Nix, that could potentially go that second round and pick them up there, because I think we're so desperate on sort of fixing everything else that like I say, you could pick up a veteran quarterback to shove into that lineup if you really needed to, or if Stafford stays. So I don't see us going quarterback any in the first round, but I think there's a potential that we need an edge rusher. We've not had a good edge rusher for a while, so I think it'll be.
I could definitely see you guys going after.
I could see you bundling something. I can see you bundling something. Get your edge rusher early, and then kind of go, let's bundle a third and a fourth together and see if one of those later drafts are willing to kind of trade out. You can then go and get maybe Bo Nix late first, early second, something like that. I can see that happening.
Well, I think you guys have a higher second anyway, right? So I mean, I think you could actually stay where you are and pick up a Bo Nix, because I think he'll be a mid-second round pickup. So you could probably stay where you are to get him, unless Bennett is able to come back. And then obviously you fix, you focus
All
on
the other holes.
everything else. Yeah. I mean, there's so many places to go. It's why I made fun of the Bears picking up
Montez Sweat.
Yeah, so them picking up Sweat was the dumbest. Like it was the most Bears thing to do. They're like, oh, we're going to make this splash play to get a player that isn't going to move the needle because the rest of our team is terrible. Like, why would you give up all this money to go get a guy that isn't going to change?
You know why I think that they've gone for that?
And they've given him an extension for 4 years already, right? They've already signed a 4-year extension. He's not even played a snap yet.
Yeah, Khalil Mack money too. So I mean, like they paid top dollar for him.
I genuinely think, because I think that they're set on Justin Fields. I think that they're accepting that he is going to be the franchise quarterback.
Sure, get him offensive line then.
But if they are going to stick with that, and they do end up getting that first pick, they're trading that away for millions of picks,
bunches of picks, because they're going to have the first and second pick near enough, right?
If Caleb decides to draft, I mean, he was seen crying on the sidelines yesterday.
Yesterday it was a heartbreaking game because he played lights out and his defense just didn't bother showing up.
It wasn't that heartbreaking because I'm a Husky fan, so
so you were loving it. You were loving it.
It was just,
but also
it was a very stressful game.
His arm is insane. He has got a cannon for a left.
He does.
Wow.
Well, there's a reason that Penix and Williams were both are still in the Heisman conversation and are both going to be first round picks. I mean, there's just a ton of talent there.
It's going to be, I think of all, I mean, obviously from my perspective, being able to actually watch the first round and see if we pick up anyone is going to be great.
A nice little difference for you, right? For the first time in 6 years or whatever it is.
Yeah. First time since Jared Goff. Yeah. I think it's going to be a very, very, very interesting draft this year. And I'm really looking forward to it overall. I think it's probably going to be,
I reckon there'll be some moves. There'll be some surprising moves and stuff in that. Yeah.
I do think it's the strongest. Obviously, if Caleb does decide to join, I think it'll probably be the strongest draft class we've had in many, many years.
But I mean, it'd be interesting, as you say. Everyone's talking about Caleb and Penix and all that sort of stuff. But whoever gets Marvin Harrison Jr. is set for life at receiver. He's a once in a 20-year generational receiver. He's just going to light up any team that gets him, and hopefully, it's one of those ones. It's one of those ones that you see talents like that, and you go, it's a shame he's so good because he's going to go to a team that isn't, by the very nature of the draft and everything else. I mean, maybe he goes to the Bears. I mean, Fields gets, Harrison
and more. Like all of a sudden that suddenly receiving duo sounds awesome.
Just the rest of it is just hideous.
Well,
and then they sell out the second one, and then they can use that other first pick that they've got.
I was going to say they could easily trade both of those away for multiple picks for years to come. Yes, okay, it means that they lose out on 2 generational talents, but it also means that they could build a whole new team.
So this is where I disagree with that, only because they did that and they did nothing with it.
They've done that. The Bears have got a history on that. That's the problem.
Yeah, so and it's not like that was like long history. That was last year.
It's not this recent history.
So no, if they were to take their first pick and pick up Harrison Jr., he's opposite of Moore. Like all of a sudden, that is very dynamic up front. You trade that second pick down a little bit. You pick up some offensive line, maybe get another defensive piece. They do have some other draft picks. You get a new coach in there, which is inevitably going to happen.
If there's going to be any coaches left in Chicago by the end of the season.
No, that's what I mean. It's going to be a whole new staff. Like there's, it could be really good if you take the logo off the hat.
Yeah, if you take the fact that it's the Bears.
Who they are.
Yeah.
They could do
If
some
you
really
joined a
great
Madden
things.
sort of franchise and you looked at it and you go, "Oh, have you got all these picks and everything? This is good. This is a chance for me to really make something of this." Oh, it's Soldier Field. Oh,
Yeah, all of a
yeah.
sudden it's just kidding. Let me start drinking. I understand it's in the morning, but it's fine.
It's fine. Everybody drinks at 8 a.m., right?
That's right.
We digress.
Just
Anyway,
it's just said there that Stafford is out now officially. He's
He's
Officially
out.
out. Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, I figured he would be. A throwing hand thumb.
You
Like,
can't.
if you're
No.
questionable with a throwing hand thumb, just sit down.
Because the last thing you want to do is like,
Like,
it's really sore, it's not quite right, and go in and get pinged the first, throw one and bounce your thumb off somebody's helmet, and then
well,
that's.
I mean, you're gonna fumble.
Yeah.
It's the thing.
Yeah.
You're not gonna be able to grip the ball.
Yeah.
So
first
even
snap is
if
gonna
you're able
jar
to
your
throw,
thumb.
as soon as you get hit once, it's a wrap.
Yeah,
Mm.
but even the snap, as you say, from the center, you may well, if you catch that wrong and just jar your thumb, I mean, ow.
Oh, could you imagine catching the tip on the end of your thumb with that's going on the ground for sure.
I'm trying not to imagine that. Thanks, Bo.
I mean, I guess we have to talk about these Cardinals.
I guess we've managed to get through 46 minutes without it. I know Jay's probably decided I'm not talking about it this week.
Yeah, right. I'm not showing up today. It's
an interesting one, right? Because we talked about it a few weeks back, saying Kyler, sitting until these tough games are out of the way. You're okay with Dobbs. He's more than He's more than competent, whatever. Then they trade him to Minnesota. I mean, for effectively nothing.
Nothing. Yeah, nothing. I mean,
we said that Cardinals are not tanking,
but they are 1-7.
Is it the Browns they're playing this week?
Yeah,
and they're throwing in Clayton Tune, a rookie quarterback, in against that defense.
Yeah. No, because they hate him.
Because they hate him,
like,
and they
we don't like you. Go die.
Yeah, go die out there. But don't hurt our franchise for the future QB, who's almost ready. But we'll bring him back against the team next week, who are a lot less scary.
I mean, they might be able to get Myles Garrett to sign his get well card. I don't know.
At the time of sacking him, maybe, as he pounds him into the floor. It's a weird decision. I mean,
Well, I think they're far enough out of it.
Yeah,
but then they're far enough out of it at this point that they're like, well, let's give our rookie a shot. Let's see what we have in him, because they liked him, right? So let's see what we got. You get Dobbs out, which, I mean, whatever. It was a move that the Vikings had to make, right? Because they were obviously Cousins is done for the year, and Nick Mullins was out as of 2 weeks ago with a back injury. So
he's been out on IR for a long time.
But also, which is again, this sort of links in with this really bizarre decision. Dobbs is not going to play this week.
No.
They're playing.
They're going with.
They're playing Hall, their rookie quarterback, which makes zero sense. But
wow,
he's not seen the playbook, I guess. But then he didn't really see the playbook in Arizona, did he?
I mean, he's a smart guy, right? Astrophysicist. I feel like he'd be able to pick it up pretty quick. I mean, if you can have Baker, who reads a playbook with crayon.
Yeah. It's got to be pretty pictures for Baker and still get it. Yeah. you can plug him in and make it work, right? Surely.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
It's a weird one, because I mean, they gave the Browns a 5th and a 7th for Dobbs, I think, and got a 6th back from Minnesota. It's like, it's just like it was obviously Kyler's back. Sorry, Dobbs, thanks very much, but you're out the door, because maybe we don't want you were our starter and now you're not. Grumble. I don't know. It felt a bit like.
Plus they can alleviate any conversation of a quarterback controversy, right? Because the thing that's funny is I don't even know why there would be, because it's not like he played amazing, right?
No.
Like he
was just better than what people were expecting, right? As we said last week, No,
I mean, like, he took command. He looked fine, right? But he was very average. If you look at the numbers, he didn't do anything special. But he was able to come in short notice and play competitive football, right? Like, it's a scrappy team. They're in every game. Like, they're trying to win. They just don't have the roster
to win against Dallas somehow. That was.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I enjoyed that, but
we all did, I think, right?
Yeah, we all enjoyed that.
We all enjoyed that one. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's one of those. You get rid of any question marks in the quarterback position by getting Dobbs out of there. Again, it's not like he played amazing. So you have people that are kind of wore out on the Kyler Murray thing. So they're looking for any reason to be like, yeah, let's get Kyler out of here, because they're just tired of everything that surrounds Kyler Murray, right? So it good, bad, or indifferent, right? Like it could just be the media spinning stuff up, but a lot of fans are just tired of hearing about it at this point.
And like you say, it gives, although it's going to be a tough game for Clayton Tune, I think it at least gives them an idea of if he can do at least maybe something, if anything, against this Browns defense. Then at least
survive.
If he can survive this,
make a couple of passes, not die.
Then he's gonna potentially be a solid QB2 for them going forward.
Yeah.
That's the only thing you can see, really. But
and the only positive is you can guarantee that Kyler will not hurt himself against the Browns.
I do feel for Tune. I think it's to be thrown in literally to the lion's den is a really harsh thing to do. But I'm sure you never know. He may stand up and play really well.
Yeah, may go in there going, right, you've thrown me to nobody expects me to do anything. I'm going to.
They also don't have tape. They don't have tape on him. He has a shot.
He has a shot to go out there and just light it up and sling the rock around to their very good receiving.
But they also don't. They also now. They also don't have.
Cardinals are you watching?
Yeah, obviously the baseball team. I think
they also don't have. Not very good either, they don't have Democado this week, do they? He's out. So it is down to Ingram. Is it Keontae Ingram?
Yeah,
the second year.
Yeah,
so
second year who's been beat out by the rookie this year.
Yeah.
The janitor's throwing a jersey on. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Some guys if Jason turns up to the stadium with a jersey on, he's probably playing lineman, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's a good shot. They'd throw him back there as a linebacker or something.
Crazy.
Or like you don't even have to make a tackle, just like fall in front of someone and make them trip over you.
That'll do. We'll give it. That'll go as a stat. It will definitely work. That's going to be painful. I mean, as you say, they're not tanking, but what have they got to lose other than their franchise QB if they put him in now against that team when he's not absolute 100%.
And to be fair, 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, we said this, didn't we? We said he shouldn't be put in against the next two games, and that's what they've decided to do, which I think is a clever decision.
No, it's smart.
Yeah, it's like you're smart business decision.
Right? Anyway, right? Yeah. It's not like you're in the mix for the lead of the division or anything, or really even in the conversation for a wild card spot. So why would you put him in harm's way for no reason? Like that.
I think it's just the trading Dobbs thing that kind of. It made it a little bit more like, all right, it's a bit okay. So you've got that transitional week of throw the poor rookie in against one of the best defenses in the league. All right, okay. I guess they're not tanking, but they're not exactly setting themselves up for failure, are they? Or success. It's business decisions are being made in Arizona, and rightly so, because they do need a rebuild, and I think they're all fully aware of that. So.
Yeah,
and they're also upset about. I think the Houston Texans have actually turned in a couple of decent performances. So Cardinals are like, "Hey, can you stop winning? Because that draft pick has suddenly gone down to like 15 or something."
Yeah.
But hopefully things will start turning around from next year. I think it's. I think, like I said, they're accepting the fact that they're now done. I think
I think they've lent into it from the outset. I think everyone had them as 0-17 anyway. Didn't pretty much. I think anyway. So the fact they have got their win in. I think Jay's still holding out those sort of rose tinted couple of win glasses, but you never know. It is the NFC West. We do tend to win a game against each other even out of nowhere. So it could happen, but they're definitely leaning into it. But as we said, they're scrapping. Some of those players are really showing up for next year. So they do.
Well, that's the biggest thing, right? Is you're seeing good tape from guys even in losses, and I mean at the end of the day, you're never going to convince the players to play bad, right? Like even if you're tanking, like the players aren't going to tank, right? Because that affects their ability to get a job next year
somewhere that's better in a position. Yeah, exactly.
But if you're the coach or the GM, you can do stuff like this. Oh, we have a guy that's been competitive every week. Let's get him out of the building. Let's throw this rookie in. This is definitely an L. We're going to put him against the stingiest defense in the league. They like to come and hit people. Welcome to the NFL.
Welcome to the NFL. Let's see what you got. Don't worry, we've got you lined up for an A&E week or something. You know, you'll be on the physio table a lot next week.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, don't worry. There's an ambulance in the stadium.
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
We got the massage guns ready for you. Don't worry. Yeah, you'll be in that blue tent a lot on Sunday.
I mean, after a couple of hits from Garrett, he might be looking for the blue tent anyway. Be like, can I?
I feel a bit dinged up, but my head's a bit. No.
He'll start looking like Daniel Jones behind his line, where he's like,
oh, shake. I mean, the thing is, if he goes down, who else have they got?
Cooper Kupp. He's going to come over and fill in for a day.
Cooper Rush is going to fly in. It's like, wow. Is Colt McCoy still flying around somewhere?
No, he's a free agent.
Free agent. Wow.
He's like, I only play for the Rams as a receiver, but I can pop over and play quarterback for a minute.
Got some fun games, you know.
Why do you think Matt Stafford isn't playing? He's going to go and play for the Cardinals for a game.
Just going to have a revolving door on the sideline. Is there? Did anyone throw in high school? Yeah, me, coach. All right, yeah, put the punter in as your backup QB. Hang on.
It's going to be the peanut guy, right? Those guys can sling those bags halfway
from up there. Your peanuts. Oh yeah, get that guy. Put a jersey on him. Yeah.
It's just as a side note, it's the Miami Dolphins are making a comeback. It's 21-14 now.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah, and it's the end of the third. So I mean, there's still plenty of time.
Yeah.
And that's actually quite a high scoring game for an international series.
It is. It is.
Because most of they tend to always be sort of what was the over on that game though was like something like 51 or
50,
something.
Yeah, it was. I took the under.
Definitely, I heard that. I was like, that's an under every day of the week, especially an international series game.
I think the difference.
Over 30.
People got excited because it's two very good teams on offense. But
I mean, if it was in Arrowhead or if it was in Hard Rock, then you'd go.
I'm taking the over.
Yeah, but the international series games just somehow they just never blow up like a game like that. And you just like when you saw that, it was like that's an under every day of the week. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I think Travis Kelce only has 2 receptions for 7 yards, which
that's because Taylor's not there, right?
Yeah, true.
She's not travelled. I mean, there was some. Did you see I think there was some.
Shake it off. Shake it off.
Yeah, shake it off. That was hands down the best trolling ever. So they get smacked by the Broncos, right?
Yeah.
As they were leaving the field, they had "Shake It Off" playing through the stadium. That is the most hilarious thing.
And there's that stat, isn't it? Isn't it something like he was like when Taylor was there, he was averaging 108 yards per game.
108 yards PPV, massively. She wasn't there. It's like 2 catches for 5 yards.
Yeah,
which is what they have today, right? So
exactly, that's it. Maybe the Kansas City Chiefs do actually need to bring Taylor Swift to every game.
Yeah, well, she's in South America for the next few weeks, so don't expect maybe. Drop Travis Kelce for the next few weeks.
Get Kelce out of your fantasy teams now. Yeah, that's it. That'd be looking laugh. Boys, it's been a great hour. Appreciate you jumping on. Enjoy the rest of Sunday, Bo. Good luck with this afternoon or this evening. I hope you don't end up chewing your nails too much.
I chopped them all off already.
It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, it's going to be a stressful one, but it should be a good one. And Sam, who knows what you're going to end up with? But I'm assuming your game's on Red Zone, right? You're watching the other games.
That's where I'll be watching it.
Yeah, definitely, boys. Great to speak to you. Enjoy your Sunday, and we'll catch up next week. Until next time, folks. This has been the Let's Talk Sport and the NFC West Show.
Take it easy, guys.